Peace fam, it's the Pressure Cooker, and I'm back with another video. This time I'm going to be talking about intergenerational trauma. Now, I want this to be the first discussion in a series of discussions. This topic is far too broad to just tackle in one video, and I suspect that there will be a lot of things that will come up. Part of what inspired me to create this video is, I had a session with a client recently, and in the session, this client's actually a pretty good person, and I'm going to say they're decently aware of multicultural issues, and they made a comment about people. I don't want to minimize what they said, not that people need to move past it, but she was calling out that there needs to be healing. People need to move beyond what has happened to them in the past. This is a white client, by the way. Now, given the history that I know of this person, I didn't take it as I would normally hear it. The bootstraps, get over it, it's time to move past it. What her message was a lot deeper than that, but we're just going to leave it there, right? However, it did still trigger me, and it made me think, and I did talk with her about intergenerational trauma, and I think that's part of what made me want to have this discussion, because I think there's a lot of people, not just white people, but a lot of people who don't realize how powerful and damning the effects are of intergenerational trauma. Okay, now, as a trained trauma therapist, one of the things that I've learned about trauma is not just that everybody responds differently to trauma, but that it can be passed down. Like, it could literally be passed down, and it's not just, I used to think it was just in the habits and the environments that we were raised in, but actually there's more and more research being shown that genetically some of this trauma is passed down through generations, which blows my mind. It sounds wild, but it's true. And that really made me think, we can apply this to different groups, but I'm going to talk specifically about Black people here. The intergenerational trauma that we face as Black people. There are many groups who have faced all types of trauma. Okay, so this is not to minimize anybody else's, but I'm Black, so that's what I'm going to talk about. And so I just think about the trauma I've been through as an individual, the trauma that my mom has been through, the trauma that my ancestors have been through. All of that stuff is passed down, right? How we deal with it, how we react to it depends on a lot of different factors. But it does affect us, guys. It does. And so when I hear people say, oh, we just need to move past things, or, even indigenous people, well, if you've seen the genocide of your people for years and years and years, it's going to be a big issue, right? You're not going to just forget about that and move on very quickly. The other thing that's important to realize is when we're doing trauma therapy, one of the key things is the person can't really be experiencing trauma still, right? Like, let's say I'm treating somebody who has recently been sexually assaulted, right? The goal is that they're not in a situation where they're repeatedly getting sexually assaulted, because guess what? We're not going to get anywhere. That therapy is going to be ineffective to them. The goal is for them to be removed from the situation, then they can process it. And so I think that's what's challenging about intergenerational trauma, especially as it relates to racism, because even though we might not be getting lynched anymore and there's a lot of things that's not happening, there's still a lot of systemic racism. There's still a lot of ways that we get treated like second-class citizens. There's still a lot of ways that we are encouraged to be silenced. Or people gaslight us and tell us it's not as bad as it is, or it's not bad at all. There's so many issues that's wrong and messed up with the system that it makes it really hard and damn near impossible for some of us to really process and work through and work past some of these issues. And so I think that's what makes it so hard, because essentially even if you're doing the work, you're still being traumatized. As a Black person, there's a lot of microaggressions. There's so much that goes on. It doesn't matter where you live. Some of us, we live in different places where there's less of that crap than other places, but it's everywhere, guys. It's everywhere. And my question is, how do we transcend that as Black people? Okay, if you're not Black, insert whatever else you need to. But how do we transcend that? How do we heal? How do we begin to heal while we're still facing a lot of these traumatic events? We're getting killed all the time for nothing, absolutely nothing, right? Or we see people getting killed for lesser things than other people are getting killed for. It's just so much. The list goes on and on. But instead of us being blinded and jaded by all of that, how do we transcend that? Because we are a very strong people. We are a magical people. And I think that we do have it in us, but how do we do that with all the things we're facing day to day? So this is a discussion I would love to have. If you're interested in joining this discussion in any way, you can email me at thepressurecooker@gmail.com. But I'm going to keep making these videos regardless, okay? Because we know some people, they don't want to talk about real shit. They just want to hear about who's gouging out the other person's eye today. And I'm interested in other topics other than that. Okay, so I just wanted to put these questions out there. I would love to hear your comments. Yeah, I know I love to read your comments. I know I'm behind, so I'm going to be responding to those. But please post your comments below. Let me know, what are your thoughts on how you think intergenerational trauma affects us? What are your thoughts on why you think it's so hard for us to heal as we're continuing to face some of these, traumatic, racist things? And how does that affect us in general? And also, guys, I want to say this. If you're still here, it also affects our medical health, right? Our health is affected by trauma, just period. Baseline trauma in this life, forget about the ancestors. Your trauma history can impact your medical history. It can cause you to have high blood pressure. It can affect your blood sugar levels. Yeah, I said it. It can affect so many things. There's some more and more research coming out about that. And so in some ways, I feel like the evil powers that be, what have you, the evil system isn't always just targeting our bodies. They're also targeting our psyches, our minds, our psychological strength. And that's something that's really important for us to understand, because those things affect other systems in our body. That's a whole nother topic within itself. But anyway, my rant is over. I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care.